Hello, this is Stephen presenting on the Second Seminole American War. You may be asking, why did I pick this subject in comparison to the vast amount of other topics in American history? Well, for me, I find it very interesting about this topic is just how much it explores into the history of both Native American and early American settlers, as it kind of goes more into detail about the interactions between both groups than would otherwise be explained in most high school and college explanations. In the spring of 1832, Seminole representatives were invited on Payne's Landing to discuss a treaty by Ocklawaha River. The treaty was signed on March 28, 1833, with the idea that the lands that have been found for Native Americans would be settled on later on in discussion. There were many disagreements in the terms of the treaties, as many of the chiefs were either tricked or forcefully coerced into signing the treaty itself. The refusal of the Seminoles to leave the reservation north of Lake Okeechobee led to the start of the Second Seminole War. From the summer to winter of 1835, Black Seminole and Seminole leaders recruited slaves from the St. Augustine plantation in order to resist removal. The first general Maroon assault was being planned to coincide with a slave revolt happening in the region. In anticipation of a general slave uprising, General Hernandez sent Governor Eden the message that, quote, that a part of the militia should be held in readiness in order to protect the inhabitants from any danger. On the 26th of December, 1835, Seminoles, Black Seminoles, and slave rebels all led one of the most coordinated slave revolts in American history. Chief Amafla and Black Seminole John Caesar, along with 100 to 120 freed black slaves and Seminoles, raided 5 plantations in just under 2 days. Almost every plantation from St. Augustine to Cape Florida were consumed by the local uprising. In the month of January alone, the uprising eradicated 16 sugar plantations, some of the wealthiest in America. What had once been a highly lucrative sugar plantation slave-based economy has now fell under itself due to its own slaves. Secretary of War Lewis Cass instructed Major Scott, upon assuming command of the war, quote, to allow no pacification with the Indians as long as a slave belonging in possession of a white man remained in their possession. The revolt handicapped the industry of East Florida, resulting in more loss of civilian life, loss of production, and loss of property than in any other singular event in the long war. The slave revolt will both help and hinder the Seminoles within those early years of the Second Seminole War. The conflict would last until 1842, which would cost 1,500 American soldiers and over $15 million for the government. At the end of the war, 3,000 Seminoles were forced to move to Indian territories in the West. Ultimately, the reason I picked this particular subject for my review and why I find it so interesting is because it explores more of the interesting history of early America and how Native Americans interacted with every kind of American, and how even in smaller, less important states at the time, such as Florida, it was having major influences on the country itself. Well, I think that's it for today, and I hope you have a wonderful night.